Hey everybody, it's Justine and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be answering a question that I got about a month ago. And the question was, how was my grad school experience? So I'm not exactly sure what answer this person wanted to hear about my grad school experience. If you wanted to hear more about like my classes or my teachers or, going to school in Miami, I'm not exactly sure what this person wanted me to cover. So I'm just going to cover the things that come to mind first when I think of my grad school experience. So maybe I'll start off a little bit with why I chose the college that I went to, the grad school I went to. So I went to Barry University. It's in Miami Shores, Florida. One, I chose it because it wasn't in Chicago where I was from, where it's very cold. But really I chose it because my GRE score didn't matter. It was in Florida and the application process was very easy. I didn't feel like there was a lot of work that I had to do to apply to the school. I did take the GRE, but I did very average on it, and I liked that my GRE score didn't really matter. I didn't have to actually submit my GRE score because of my GPA, so I liked that about Barry. I don't know if that's still the case, but it was when I applied. Since I had a really good rapport with my teachers from undergrad, I just emailed them and asked them to do letter of recommendations. My academic advisor from undergrad did one of them for me as well. So it was very simple. And then writing the statement, which I really didn't look forward to. I feel like that was a little bit like the most tedious part of it, but I basically said why I was great and why they should let me go there. And I think about a month later, I got the email that I got in. I feel like the ease of the application process was a really big factor on why I chose Barry. It just felt really simple. It didn't seem very complex, and a lot of programs have a lot of requirements. You have to have a certain score on the GRE and that kind of thing, and none of that really mattered to me. I also liked that it was a small private school, and I went to a small private school for undergrad, and I liked not being a number, and that was another reason why I chose Barry to begin with. So I definitely think those are some factors just to take into consideration when you're looking at grad schools, if any of you are. First day of grad school, it's kind of intimidating when you think about it, because you're like, grad school, this is me getting my degree and what I really want to do. In undergrad, you take a bunch of classes that you don't really care about, and then you have the few that you like really wanted to take because they actually pertain to your major. Well, when you're getting your grad school degree, your master's, it's in what you want to actually do. So it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, but I have to say, my first day of class was probably one of the best days of my life. And that sounds really cheesy, but I walked out of class with this huge smile on my face because I was so ecstatic about how great it was. First day of class, I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be. I'm pretty sure it was my human growth and development class, something like that. I was just like, oh, I'm home. Like, I felt like I was home even though I was nowhere near home. I just felt like I was home. I knew it was gonna be a lot of work because you get those syllabi and they tell you all the work you're gonna have to do, but all the work you have to do is stuff that you're like actually interested in. And so I just remember thinking like, yes, like I've never been so excited. And I walked out, I called my mom and my sister because my sister was like about to finish grad school, and I was like, yes. And my sister was like, yes, that's the same feeling I had too. First day of class, loved it. And I knew I was where I was meant to be. And I would say, honestly, that feeling never really went away. I had my culture diversity class, legal, ethical issues, you need to have the class. I think all my classes, I was like all about them except for psychological measurement. I just wasn't looking forward to that class at all because I'm not really the biggest fan of assessments. And when you take that class, you learn why you're not the biggest fan of assessments either. I also had a pretty big predicament happen in that class. Just for the sake of time, because I'm not gonna get into the whole thing, I actually had a peer try to fight me in the middle of the class. Yeah, it didn't go over so well. Let's just say group projects. But I would say class-wise, I loved my classes, except for that incident that happened, which a lot of us still joke about to this day. Aside from that, I really thoroughly enjoyed the classes because you're in classes that actually interest you because that's what you want to do. You want to do counseling. You want to learn about families. You want to learn about marital issues, and you want to learn about what you can do to help your clients, obviously, and that's what you're getting to learn. Is it a little bit intimidating because you're like, I have people's lives bags in my hand, not literally, but kind of literally. That can be kind of like nerve-wracking, but you just get this sense of like, you're gonna figure it out, it's gonna be okay. And the teachers really made you feel supported in that. So my teachers, my professor, my like guiding lights, they were all incredible, minus, like I said, the teacher that almost let me get beat up in class. Aside from that, my teachers were great. I'm honestly Facebook friends with a lot of them, or we follow each other on Instagram. I had one send a present for my baby. I was very close with my teachers, and I think it's just kind of a part of it. In a lot of your classes, at least in my experience, you're having to share things about yourself because you're asking clients to share themselves with you. You kind of have to be comfortable sharing yourself so that you know what it's gonna be like for the clients. Obviously, you're not gonna be self-disclosing your whole life story to clients, but it's more so for you to understand what you're gonna be asking your clients to do. And if you're able to see how some of the theories or techniques apply to you in your life, you can see how it's gonna apply to your clients when you're working with them. So you end up kind of sharing a lot of yourself in your classes, and a lot of the teachers also are willing to do that too. So it's a very like reciprocal relationship, I would say. And I felt like I really knew my teachers and they were willing to share, and I love them for that. I really wouldn't change a thing in that regard. I quote a lot of my teachers to this day, and I remember certain things they said when I'm in sessions, and I'm like, oh, okay, like I remember Dr. Roseman saying this, or you know, like that kind of thing. And so I'll go back to that. And so like my teachers, I thought they were absolutely fantastic, and I would not change a thing in regard to that. Now, I will not say it was much of like a partier in grad school. I kind of got that out beforehand, I would say. Really, my time in grad school was focused on class and work. And luckily, Barry had a program where all of the classes were like 4 to 7 or 7 to 10. Is that right? Something like that. And so you were able to work during the day and do that at night, or even if you only went to class 2 days a week, you could still work nights the other night. So it was super flexible, because I gotta tell you, grad school, you don't get like covered, at least like at Barry, there's like really no scholarships unless you're a graduate assistant, and there's only like a couple positions for that. So you're like paying a lot of money. I remember it being like $10,000 a semester. So it was like $30,000 a year, adds up very quickly. And so most people are trying to work while they're also doing this. And that was one of the things I loved about Barry. It was very work friendly. I really wasn't doing too much other than work and school. Now my friends are gonna be like, Justine, you were doing more than that. I feel like I really spent a majority of my time working or focusing on school. The tough part is that you're in Florida. I was living like in Fort Lauderdale, not in Miami. Miami's not really like my scene per se, but I tell you what, if I lived in Miami, I probably never would have gotten any actual work done. So I would say like, it was very conducive though, if you were a person that liked to go out and, you know, do stuff, you were still able to do that too. And that was one of the things I did like about Barry, is it made it very easy to have a life outside of school. Yes, you had a lot of work to do for your classes, but it wasn't super time consuming in my opinion. Other people might disagree, but I know a lot of my peers had full-time jobs and were taking 2-3 classes. So Barry's not like a huge school, it's not a public school, but I will say it's probably one of the best schools, especially like in the state of Florida, for counseling. I really loved, and I haven't talked about this yet in this video, so I'll make sure that I state this, is Barry has a dual specialization program. At least they did. I'm pretty sure they still do, because that's another reason why I chose them that I didn't mention before, because at first I wasn't sure if I really wanted to go mental health or marriage and family. And then when I realized I only had to take a couple more classes, I was like, why not do both? And that's why I'm licensed in both. Barry has a dual specialization, and it's a K-CREP school, which if you don't know what that means, I've talked about that in other videos before, but basically the short version for the purpose of this is it's a counseling accredited program. And in a lot of states now, or for a lot of jobs, your degree has to be a K-CREP degree. Like the job I have right now, I would not have it if I didn't have a K-CREP accredited degree behind it. So I really suggest, if you are looking at grad schools, to try to find a K-CREP accredited program, especially if you're trying to do mental health counseling. If you're trying to do marriage and family, you need to find a COMFT. Again, I still haven't learned what it is, or how to pronounce it, but that's a certified in marriage and family, like accredited in marriage and family program. program. Look that up or try to find my other video where I talk about the different counseling paths. I talk a lot about it in that video. But for the purpose of this, like I said, Barry has a dual specialization program and it's known for that, and it's CACREP accredited. So it holds a lot of weight. I mean, it holds a lot of weight within Florida and outside of Florida. It holds a lot of weight. And so I would say that that's something to look for yourself when you're looking for a program. For me, that was one of the things that I loved. And so a lot of time people look at my resume and they see Barry, and they may not necessarily know Barry, but then they see that like dual specialization, or they see that CACREP accreditation, and they're like, oh, okay. It's like they're like serious, or they know that I'm serious about this, I guess. Maybe they see the dual licensure and they're like, she's doing too much, she's overachiever. I can tell you that those things about Barry is a reason why a lot of people are familiar with the school. It's helped me get a lot of opportunities. Barry has a very great like alumni or has a lot of alumni. I mean, like I saw Shaq one day when I was leaving class. I mean, it's kind of hard to miss him on campus, but I saw him one day just walking through, and that's because obviously he went there. But there's a lot of different alumni and there's a lot of opportunities, and they're always trying to reach out to people to do stuff too. I've been asked to come back for a lot of things. I don't live in Florida anymore, so that makes it kind of impossible, but it was just kind of cool to see all the different people who have been alumni at Barry too, and then occasionally like running into them when they're actual like real people like Shaq. So obviously different schools offer different opportunities, and a lot of that has to do with you and what you want to do. But I will tell you, and I was kind of hinting at this earlier, that you know, having a CACREP degree and being dually licensed has been really helpful for me. And maybe at some point I'll do a video about that, because people always ask me like, do I get paid more money being dually licensed? Because you're spending money to get to be dually licensed, right? But what I will say is, you know, right now I technically have 3 licenses because I had to get one to move here to Hawaii, but now we're actually getting ready to move abroad. We're moving to Germany. And so at some point I'll do a whole video about that, and I'll probably wait till we get there so I can actually like show some footage of Germany once we're there. But even having that CACREP degree has allowed me to have the job that I have, that I'm actually going to be able to move abroad and do counseling abroad. And that's a really, really hard thing to do, is find opportunities to do counseling abroad, especially with a license and not a PsyD or a PhD. It's really hard to find the opportunities to do that. Here we are. Shout out to Barry. So, I mean, I loved my experience at Barry. I would not change anything about the experience. I've got a lot of great friends that are my best friends from there, which is hard to make friends as you get older. But I've made some really good friends that are my best friends from the school. And so I wouldn't change anything about it. Positive experience in general, overall, yes, I would do it 100 times again. Paying the loan, but aside, you know, worth it all at the end of the day. Just make sure that you obviously like, you share, and you subscribe so you can see all about this move that's about to take place. There's been a lot happening. I know I haven't made a video in a while. Had a baby. Like I've always said, if you have a question, put it in the comments. I will always answer them. Hence this video. So hopefully this answers your question, Johnny, who asked the question about my grad school experience. If there's anything that you wanted me to hit on about grad school that I didn't, just let me know. I can do another video. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.